right, welcome aboard, everybody. My name is Doobyis. This is an interview series I call Fly In Formation. It's a spin-off from my weekly mix show. The mix show is called After the Smoke is Clear. You can find everything that I do at Doobyis.com. Play an hour worth of new independent hip-hop from across Canada every week and do my best to get more music in more new ears every week. That's what I'm pushing. So I decided to start talking to artists across the country, trying to just kind of learn more about the scenes, learn more about the artists themselves, obviously, and get kind of the inside scoop on people's albums, stuff like that. Today, joining me for episode 129, I've got St. John's, New Brunswick, right? That's where you're at, not the other St. John? Yeah, okay.
That's right. Yeah.
It's always confusing for guys who've never been out to the East Coast, but Mxchael Shabazz, welcome aboard, man. How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm really good. Things are great on this end. I'm having a lot of fun talking to different artists and just been enjoying getting to pick people's brains and kind of soak up game. It's been a fun road getting here. So I appreciate you
really
stopping by. Hey, thanks, man. So I guess let's just start off. Like, I know, you mentioned that you had an album coming up. We talked a little bit about that. You sent a few tracks over, but honestly, I don't know a ton about you, but it seems like you must have some history in the hip hop game that I haven't been able to unearth, because you rap pretty good and I don't assume you just started that. So, do you want to just kind of give a rundown on like your journey through music and kind of how you've got to this point in your career?
Yeah. So, I'll take the earphone out here. So up until a certain point, I was going under a different rap name. So that's probably why you can't find some of the older stuff. But back in the day, it was Gnostic, Nosttic. I got a SoundCloud page and Bandcamp and all that stuff. And you find a lot of the older mixtape tracks. And then before that, it was, I was in a group called One Mind. And it was me and two other people. And we would go around, do shows and, made a couple mixtapes and, so the trajectory, I started doing this like when I was 13. And
okay.
I'm 39 now. So.
Hey, me too. Just turned 39 last week or 2 weeks ago now, I guess.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Yeah, hey, thanks. So yeah, you've been at it for a while then, man. I guess, did you get a chance to do like kind of touring, or was it mostly kind of local stuff? Did you ever get out of your own stomping grounds?
A little bit, to like PEI, Halifax, just kind of like the surrounding area, basically. But we never ventured too far. We kind of just stuck around here.
Yeah, makes sense, man. I think the East Coast has like, at least a few markets where you could go play shows at that are relatively close together, kind of compared to the rest of Canada. Like, I guess Toronto definitely has a lot of market in that one little area, but compared to like the West Coast or whatever, I think you guys have maybe more ability to draw crowds as you were to go tour small places like that.
Yeah. Did you say Toronto was the East Coast?
No. I said Toronto probably like, it obviously has its own markets that are all in around the GTA or whatever. But
people say East Coast, they think Toronto, and it's like, well, that's.
No, I know my geography. I know my geography well enough. It came through the Canadian school system. They made me learn the provinces.
Good.
Yeah. Man. So I guess talk about, is it a bit of a transition then to do solo work, or were you doing solo work as your previous moniker too?
You know what? It was actually, because you go from rapping with two other guys, and you all make songs together, and it's like, all right, I'm pitching in one verse, he's pitching in another, we got a song.
Yeah.
So then you kind of like take your ideas and stories and everything, you condense them into one verse. And then when you start to venture into making your own songs, you're like, okay, well, how do I take that idea and kind of expand on it and turn it into a whole song that I can do myself? So it was definitely a bit of a learning curve coming from a 3-man crew going to do solo stuff, because it's like, all right, I'm just used to tossing in a verse for the song, and now I got to do the whole song. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So with solo stuff, then does it feel a little bit more like your own baby? Like you really get the full creative control of it?
Yeah, you get to dive into, get a little bit more personal, dive into different topics, and you're not fighting over creative control over certain things, and just that, even as a whole, like doing the mixtapes and all that stuff. It's like, all right, well, what are we going to do with this whole thing? And then it's a little bit of a tug of war between everybody to kind of land on what the direction is going to be.
Yeah, right. Uh, so tell me about the St. John scene. Is there a lot of hip hop going on out there, or do people kind of gravitate to Halifax or wherever?
Yeah, not so much anymore. Like there was back in the day when we were doing it back, when I was 19, 20, and kind of those years, and even a little bit before that, there was definitely more of a scene, more active participants in hip hop. Right now, I don't really see anybody doing much in St. John itself.
Okay.
You can go to, I think the next closest place where you're going to catch a scene is probably Fredericton.
Okay.
And Fredericton would be the next one. Out there you've got, Monarch, you got Sean Wan, who, still makes beats and stuff like that. I don't know if he's too active in performing anymore, but, you got Hinch and all these other dudes and kind of that crew there that do shows more often. They've been, doing a lot of opening spots for whoever comes to town and, things like that.
Makes sense.
But as far as like St. John right now, I would say Stephen Hero is the one keeping it alive.
I was actually just going to ask you about him. I've seen you've done a few features on his stuff. That was kind of where I saw your name in the first place. I think you guys work really well together, man. Can you talk about just kind of how that link up happened?
Yeah, so he actually just dropped a little bit of a mini doc on his tour. It was, I think, 2 years ago. Whenever it was Hip Hop 50, we did a couple shows, and we actually did one up in Fredericton. And he told the story on stage, and it's in the doc there, about how he was doing a show. And at this time, we were, I think it was me solo, active, doing a bunch of shows. Me, Naps Mecca, and Capital E. We were kind of all rapping together, not necessarily. We were all solo artists, kind of just as a conglomerate, hooking up, doing songs, doing shows. So we were doing that, and Stephen Hero was doing a show. I can't remember what year this was. It was a long time ago. And he got us to open up for him at his show. So we went out, and I actually don't super remember this like he does. But he said that we opened up for him, and he's like, what he say in the thing? He goes, once I heard them rap, then I realized I had to get on after them. You know what I mean? And it's like, I was like, all right,
one of those situations.
Compliment. It was a compliment, And I think that was kind of our first little, link up. And then, years and years and years went by where we didn't really, there wasn't too much communication and stuff. And then just over the last few years, he started hitting me up. At first it was, hey, what are you doing? You still doing stuff? And we'd say, yeah, I'm still working on things. He's like, all right, well, why don't you hop on this track? And he's like, okay, we get on the track. And he's like, hey, I got another song. You want to hop on this song? Okay, cool, yeah. Hey, I was thinking about doing this video, blah, blah, blah. You want to do this video? Okay, yeah, let's do the, okay, now that we got a couple tracks, I'm doing the show. You want to come out and do the show? And yeah, I got to give him credit that he drags me out of my cave and gets me active and going to do things. So nice. Shout out Stephen Hero.
Nice, yeah. That made me think, man, here's a random kind of question, but would you rather have a good opener for your show or, a bad opener for your show? I know like a lot of hip hop shows end up having the whole, like, 8 MCs nobody's ever heard of who've never rapped before kind of on stage to start things off at 8 o'clock or whatever. I'd never thought about the opposite way, like you just said, with like, oh shit, I got to go on after that guy, right? Like I've been in that situation a couple times myself, but never really thought of it like that.
So we've been part of those shows before where there's, 18 MCs all opening up and got 10, 15 minutes, and you start at 7 o'clock, and by the time you get to 11 o'clock, then the main act's going on. And to me, I don't like that. I think it's too much. I think if you're going to do a show, I would stick to probably 3 people maximum. You know what I mean? You can have your less experienced opener go first. You can have your more experienced opener go right before you to kind of like really bridge the gap. And So I would say probably three, and I would rather have dope people go on before you go on too,
I
because
agree.
the whole idea of the openers to get the crowd warmed up and to get
Yeah.
people excited and towards the stage and
Not
everything.
scare them away. Yeah. A lot of the time at those shows with 8 guys, nobody wants to hear rap. You end up clearing the place out, or a lot of people are out front smoking for their sets or whatever else. But yeah, man.
So luckily we've always, we've been, I stand on this that I, rap with and friends with and associate with some of the best people on the East Coast, hands down. A couple of the people I'm close with, ain't nobody out rapping them.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. There's some fire out there, man. You guys have been, really surging lately. I think in the past, like, I don't know, 5 years I've been paying attention. Anyways, there's been a lot of heat from the East Coast that I've heard. I looked before this, and I could have sworn you were on Spotify at some point. Do you have music out right now, or like, where can people find your solo stuff right now? Did you take your stuff off Spotify?
I don't think so. I think it's still up there, but I would only have a couple songs. So,
okay.
So Spotify. So I'm old. I'm behind the curve. I'm not super active in putting music at the forefront. So right now it's kind of more of something that I do because I like to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm always going to do it. And my goal last year before was to get some songs on DSPs, crack that open and go, all right, well, now that this is what people go to first to listen to music, and they have playlists and stuff like that, I need some songs on there that they can throw into the playlist and go, oh, I've never heard you before, where can I check you out? And then just easily go, you know what I mean, point them in there.
The distro kid or whoever you paid to digital distribute it might have done you dirty, man, because when I searched, it says Mxchael Shabazz, and it looks like the profile pic that I thought I was following and everything.
Yeah,
but you got no songs under that account, and
then there should be three. There should be three on there.
Then I went to your IG and looked and went to the link tree and saw links to, I think Halftime was one of the songs, and two other tracks. And I clicked those, and it tried to take me to what looked to be Mxchael Shabazz in all caps on Spotify.
Yeah.
But then it reverted back to the other one. So I don't know. You might want to take a look.
Yeah, I have to check that out. See, I'm not up on all this stuff. So yeah, I thought I did my due diligence and put the link tree together and put them up there. And I'm like, all right, I'm cool. That's good.
Yeah. I mean, typically that works. I guess, how do you feel about Spotify, man? As somebody who's, been around making music for a long time, I think there's a current debate with artists right now where it's like, do we use this fucking platform even though it obviously doesn't give a shit about independent musicians? It's not paying anybody, what they deserve to be paid. And it might be taken away from how many people would actually buy music if the music wasn't up there. I don't know. Today I made a thread talking about artists should just kind of put a song or two up or put an album up for a while, but then take most of it down and let people go to Bandcamp if they want the full album. To me, we should just be using this shit as the radio and send it singles, use it as a thing to find audiences in the first place, and then try to draw them back to buy music. But one guy already jumped in the comments telling me that was a crazy idea. I don't know. How do you feel about the streaming platforms?
Honestly, I probably agree with everybody in the conversation. I agree with the people that are against it. Yeah. I agree with the people that are for it. I see the upsides. I see the downsides. I know that, they don't pay out like they should. They don't, the artists and their art just become this commoditized thing. That's it's just nonstop consuming of something. You're not really putting a spotlight on something that you worked hard on. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I like the idea of putting a couple songs up on there. It's kind of like a teaser, and it's you want the rest, you go and, check out the Bandcamp. The only thing with that is, and this is the catch-22 of it, it's you go and do that. Not everyone's going to Bandcamp to play this. How is there has to be some sort of seamless integrations, you know what I mean? Which is not going to happen because Spotify and Apple Music and stuff.
Yeah,
They're
they
not
don't
gonna,
want to
they're
send
not,
you off their app
yeah,
under any
exactly.
circumstance. Yeah.
But like, I think even myself, you know what I mean? Like, what am I going to go, I'm busy, I'm on the move. What am I listening? Am I going to go to SoundCloud, and then I'm going to go to Bandcamp, and then I'm going to go to Apple Music and, listen to all these different artists and stuff like that? It's hard to do. It's
Yeah.
hard to, but I agree with artists getting whatever they deserve. If you want to completely put your music on Bandcamp, you want to completely, you want to sell your mixtape for $100, do that.
Yeah.
I think you should do that. You know what I mean? And if that's the value that you see in yourself, go do that. You know what I mean? I support that. So, like I said, I'm kind of in the middle on that. I get everybody's, gripe about the DSPs and, am I feeding into it by, putting my music on there, or am I just making it, more accessible to, an audience to bring them into other places, right?
Yeah. No right answers to that shit, man.
There's really not. Yeah.
All artists are kicking around those same ideas and the same questions and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just keep asking everybody every week shit like that to see if there's a consensus forming or whatever. And so far, not really. When I saw that you had no music up there, I was like, sweet, maybe he's going to tell me like, no, fuck Spotify,
Yeah.
I'm off that shit or whatever. But I think it is important to get a hook in the audience at first anyways, and then once you get an audience built up, maybe you could use it less. Like, some of these more established guys I talk to, I think, are like selling out their vinyls on Bandcamp and stuff pretty easily. So like, I wonder if they would be okay to stop, but I think it takes a while to kind of get to that level and get to that point where you've got a fan base who's willing to drop money on you. Yeah, but
that's the other thing too. And I think that's a good point, that an artist that can actually make their fan base go somewhere else, be a good idea for them to do. You know what I mean? Someone like myself who is very inconsistent in doing this and just kind of throw stuff up whenever, that may not be something I do until.
Here's a question for you, bro. Do you feel that being called a hobbyist would be an insult? I'm not calling you a hobbyist right now. Because some guys do feel that that's very insulting. So I'm to me personally, I feel like there's a lot of guys who do this as a hobby, who work a day job, and like you said, they like making music, so they make music. And I always talk like my grandma used to paint in her basement. Nobody ever saw those fucking paintings. She wasn't trying to sell them. She wasn't trying to put them in a gallery.
Right.
It was just a basement full of paintings, and I think a lot of musicians kind of go at it that way too.
Well, I mean, it just depends, right? It depends on the artist. It depends on your intention in saying that. Are you saying that as like a slight, as a dig?
Yeah.
Are you
fucking hobbyist? I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Or are you, or you just kind of calling it like it is? I'm not, I'm not in the position to be pursuing this as like, I'm trying to tour and make this a career and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make music because I like making music, and I'll share it. And, obviously you've heard the songs, there's a message in it.
Yeah.
It's my way to convey certain thoughts, and, it's something kind of I'll always do. I would say it's a little bit deeper than just being a hobby, because, I'm still involved in the scene. I'm still involved in, different aspects that are outside my basement, outside people seeing or not seeing something. So,
well, and even beyond that, there's the whole, like, rap is something we do and hip hop is something we live kind of a mentality
right.
That, like, if that's a lifestyle choice, then it's probably bigger than a hobby, I guess. But at the same time, like, I think there's a lot of guys who, if we're being real about it, are working day jobs to pay the bills, and like, it's fucking tough to pay the bills off of just music alone. So, if that was the definition, then I think probably most guys that I talk to are hobbyists, because like, there's only a few who get to live off of this shit.
Well, I would say that it's, I would say that would be the line that you would cross in calling somebody a hobbyist, and it would be insulting. It's like, if I'm trying to do this, but I'm just working a job to make ends meet while I'm doing this in pursuit of this, then I'm not really a hobbyist. I'm doing this in order to get by, to get to the next level, or get to my end goal, or whatever it is, right? So
ends to the means, or whatever. Yeah, that makes sense. Dude, you mentioned kind of having a message in the music, and that's something that kind of drew me towards your work the whole time. You know, I think what was it? Stay Solid was one of the tracks you did with Stephen Hero, which was very like, you know, raw solidarity, revolution kind of music. Which like
I hijacked that track. He sent me that one. He sent me that one. He's like, "Yo, what do you think about this?" Because you know he knows what I like and stuff. He sent me in. I'm like, this is real dope. And then all of a sudden there was like this empty part at the end of the beat. And then I started, you know, I wrote probably 3/4 of a verse, and I'm like, how would you feel if I rapped on this track with you? And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, how would you feel if I kind of already wrote something? And then he's like, all right, dope. So I recorded, sent it to him. He's like, all right, you're in. You know what I mean? So
nice.
I was never actually meant to be on that track. I just inserted myself on it because I was like, man, this is my topic. You know what I mean?
No, you guys, I mean, you killed it, both of you. And I think like, you know, you were both on the right topic, and it gelled well. So I did kind of want to ask though about like, you know, Stero is not somebody who steers away from political music at all. Some MCs I've talked to definitely say that they're not interested in going into talking about anything political in their music, for various reasons, you know, scaring off half the audience in an already small audience pool, being a main one, I think. But some guys have just told me they don't really follow politics, and they don't feel like they're an authority to talk about it either. So, you know, fair enough. I don't think there's any right answers to most of this shit that I ask guys, but do you worry at all about scaring a crowd away with, you know, some politically charged music? Yeah.
That's my crowd.
Figured as much.
That's my crowd. You know what I mean? That's what I've done right from the beginning. It's what I do now. I don't shy away from those topics at all. I think it's important. I think if you're not putting it in your music that you're doing something to represent those thoughts, and you don't have to see. This is the thing too with a lot of like politics today. Things have become political when they're not actually anything to do with politics. Right. We're not talking about, you know, the budget for the schools around here and how we're going to get books to kids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We're talking about human rights stuff that has become political. It's been politicized. These are not things that you need to be well versed on. This is simple stuff.
Right. Yeah. Everybody should have the same rights. Yeah. Period.
Period.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's all you got to say.
Yeah.
You know, that's all you got to, because, you know, we get into the conversation too about celebrities and whether or not they should say anything. And, you know, you got people looking a certain way at DJ Khaled because he's Palestinian. He ain't saying nothing.
Right.
You know, in my opinion, you know, I kind of sit on the fence with that one. Do you really want DJ Khaled, you know, talking about that stuff?
He might be in that, and I don't, you know, I obviously don't know DJ Khaled or how invested into, you know, the news he is, and whether he follows that type of stuff or not. He might just be sitting on a pile of money, not thinking about it at all. So it would be weird for him to talk about it if that's the case, you know?
In my opinion, he should be saying something.
Sure.
He has a huge platform. He is Palestinian. I don't even want to call it a hot topic. Yeah, I don't even want to call it a hot topic. Those are your people.
Yeah.
Those are your people. And you could be doing something. You could be saying something, even at the bare minimum.
Yeah. Well, I really like what you said about like how it's not tough to take a stand on this. We don't need to, you know, break out a spreadsheet and rap about the budgets or whatever.
Right.
To just, come down on the right side of history and talk about it from that angle. Yeah, man, I think there's a lot of artists in hip hop right now who could be saying a lot more than they are, you know, about all sorts of different topics, and it's starting to be a pretty loud silence, in my opinion. You know, 20 years ago, you used to get guys who would say "fuck the president," you know, like, and that would be in songs, and nobody would really raise an eyebrow at it, right? Like, and where is that? Like, who's saying that right now? There not a lot of it out there. In the indie lane there is, but people selling millions of albums, not so much.
Yeah, because they're not trying to they're not trying to fuck up their money, and they also see too like that it can be a turn off to people
Yeah.
when you start talking about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And to me, it's all in how you do it.
Yeah.
There's a way to do it that it can be palatable for people, and make sure the message is easy to digest, and you're not being overbearing, but you are drawing a line in the sand and going,
sure.
this is where I stand on these things.
So,
and just do it in a cool way. You say stuff in a cool way, and people gravitate towards it.
I think there's a real science to kind of peppering it in there. Some songs you can do it where for the whole track or for a whole verse or whatever, for sure. But I think people will get tired out if it's a full album of political shit. For the most part, there's some guys who manage to do that, but I think it's definitely possible to be an MC who talks politics, but also talks about other shit sometimes, and also just has fun records. And the three you sent over to me, I was half expecting to hear some sort of message politically or whatever, and it was like kind of like
you didn't get that.
No,
you didn't
no,
get
that
that
wasn't
with those
happening
ones,
there,
no?
right? Yeah. So I guess let's talk a little bit about the new project. Have you announced the new project to anybody, or am I the only one who knows about this thing?
Just to certain people and, little previews here and there, but I try not to, be that person that's like coming soon and,
Sure.
Let's just do it, get it done. And then when it's done, we put it out kind of thing.
Okay.
But this one here, it's been, those songs are like all of these songs that you'll hear on it. I think it's probably going to be like 5, 6, 7 tracks. They're all probably 2 or 3 years old. Okay. And it's just been, so the producer of all those tracks, his name's Meerkat. He's from St. John too. Me and him linked up a couple years ago. He hit me up and he's like, you're dope. I made you a beat. One of those tracks that I sent you was the first beat that he ever sent me.
Nice.
And it was the I Want You track.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think what he said is I had put up a Spotify playlist or something like that, and he went on that and grabbed one of the tracks off it and flipped it, and it was a Janet Jackson track. And then he sent it to me. He's like, yo, I grabbed this off your playlist, flipped it, I made this for you kind of thing, right? And I was like, oh, and I didn't know who this guy was, and I was like, oh, that's dope. And then I played the track. I'm like, oh, this beat's really dope. So I had that for a little bit and didn't do anything with it. And then I think this was like in the fall. And then towards the end of the year, I kind of made a goal like, all right, this year I want to do a project. I want to have all original beats. I'm going to stick with this guy and get him to produce the whole thing. And I'm going to, it'll be my first project that I put on DSPs and have out there in the world like that. The other goal with it was to make more songy type songs.
Okay.
So less, to your point, less political, lyrical, miracle, whatever. Yeah. I want to make more songs that sounded like songs that would fit in somebody's playlist.
Sure.
So that was the other goal with this project. So me and him, we have a lot of music together. So there's probably going to be 2 more EPs after this.
Nice. Okay.
And we got like a whole other one that was probably 80% there. You know what I mean? And that one's more, this one here is more light and fun and, kind of laid back and chill. The next one will be a little bit darker. Nice. You know what I mean? It'll be a little bit more lyrical, be a little bit, but this one here, I just want to do something, to kind of like fit with the spring and summer and more songy type things. And
yeah. When you say more songy, are we talking like catchy? You trying to go for catchy hooks, kind of like more emphasis on the hook?
No, well, more, yeah, maybe like more. I want to say like less lyrically dense.
Okay.
I want it to kind of be and to have a little bit of a universal appeal.
Sure.
And use less words, but still be lyrical, but just less wordy about it, and not as hippity hoppity. You know what I mean?
Maybe
Just
a few less syllables squished in
yeah,
there. Yeah,
like
yeah.
ride the beats a little bit longer and focus on uh, you know doing the hooks a little bit differently and having bridges and maybe having singy hooks and adding things to to the hook, like the backgrounds and the scratches and the Meerkat's on some of these tracks too, like in the on I Want You track. You can hear him on the hook in the background because he actually is he comes from I want to say like a punk band. Like he was the lead singer, songwriter, guitar player in a punk band. Then when COVID happened, he started locking in and making hip hop beats.
Nice.
And that was his first kind of, and he's just been doing it ever since. So,
Dope. So
I
these will
didn't
be his
know.
first hip hop projects then, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
nice.
And I didn't know, like, until we were already had a few songs in the can. I didn't know he sung or could do anything like that. So I'm like, how come you didn't tell me that right from the beginning? Like, we're going to use that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Nice.
And
And he's down for it. He's all right with doing vocals.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like
Cool.
that's what he does. You know what I mean? So
Nice.
and it's just different. Like it's different than what you would normally hear on songs like this. And I try to fit them in where it doesn't sound kind of contrived. Like it's more so just weave them in very subtly,
Right.
without kind of putting them up at the forefront. Like, hey, this is going to be rap mixed with punk kind of thing.
Yeah. Right.
I don't want that. I want him to do what he does, but have it woven in so it doesn't stand out like that. It just enhances the track. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's interesting, man.
Yeah.
Come On Y'all is like super, hip hop purist breakbeat boom bap, as far as I could hear. Like I didn't get a ton of time to listen through and analyze these tracks too deep, but that one struck me as like, okay, this is something for the B-boys to break to. I wanted to ask, like, do you practice any other elements of hip hop? Do you break yourself or anything?
Break a hit. Break, you know what I mean? That's about it. You know what I mean? Break my back and with these kids, and no, I don't do any of that stuff. But okay, I'll leave that up to those. But
yeah. And then the other track that you sent was called "Good Life," where you're kind of talking about wanting to achieve the dream and just have a chill, relaxed life. Not necessarily the dream in like, superstardom, but just being able to support yourself off music, it sounded like, right?
More so just to be happy. Okay. Just to be, to make sure I'm good, to make sure my family's good, to make sure my people are good, and kind of focusing on the things that really matter in life, and, not all these outside things that we tend to kind of gravitate towards and chase and, forget about, the little things and the little moments. And, when I say stuff like having Sunday dinners with the fam, you know what I mean? It's like, those are the things that are going to last a lifetime. Those are the conversations you have with your people that, can supersede getting the latest iPhone or, doing those kinds of things. Right. So
Dude,
I kind of wanted to,
I saw a clip of Elon Musk the other day standing in a crowd or something. And like, I think it was bleachers. Maybe it was at the Olympics. I don't know what the fuck it was, but people around him were kind of clapping. And like, he like looks around and awkwardly like says something to no one. Like no one is really paying attention to him or listening to him. And then he kind of like claps and sits down. And, the caption was just like, the richest man in the world still is out here looking fucking lonely and just like sad and miserable, right? So there's a lot to being wealthy beyond just money.
Because he's a loser, bro. He's a loser.
Yeah, 100%, man.
He's a loser. Like that's the long and the short of it is the guy's a loser. So no amount of money is going to change that.
Yeah, definitely.
Other than it's just going to put you around people that are around you because of your money. That's it. It's like when Jay-Z said there's no such thing as an ugly billionaire.
Yeah, I guess. I guess
it's true.
It depends. Depends, man. Some of the stuff that sounds like those billionaires are up to is pretty fucking ugly. So
man, that's crazy stuff.
I guess it depends what angle you're looking from at those billionaires, but yeah, I think we gotta tax those motherfuckers out of existence. Personally, I think anybody with that much money, we gotta knock down a peg or two.
Oh man, Eat the Rich, Stephen Hero. Shout out Stephen Hero, Eat the Rich.
Dude, I've actually got a shirt. He put out those Eat the Rich shirts. He sent
Yeah.
one to me. My fucking apartment building, I don't know, said no access, but he couldn't get into the building. So it went back to him. Stero texted me back like, yo, I got this shirt back. So I sent him more shipping and now he's sending it back out. I hope I actually get it here one day. But yeah, Eat the Rich.
Nice.
Shouts to
Yeah.
Stero.
Speaking of that, he's coming out with Eat the Rich too.
Yeah.
With Brian Crane, and the cover that they're using is a picture that I shot.
Oh,
That
nice.
we did him and Wolf Castle did a show at the Imperial Theater, which is like one of our oldest kind of like theaters in St. John here.
Okay.
And not many people like around here perform, especially specifically hip hop. They don't perform at this place. I think Classified did an acoustic show there. The very first concert I ever seen in life was Weird Al Yankovic. He performed there back when I was in like grade 8, you know.
Is it like one of those entirely like seated audience places?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. It's seated.
Proper
There's
theater
balconies,
style.
you know,
Nice.
people with the binoculars and types, you know what I mean? It's one of those venues, right?
Okay.
So they ended up, they did a show there. And of course, Stephen Hero, hey, why don't you come out and do a couple songs? All right, cool. Come out and do a couple songs. And, you know, lately I've been into photography and doing that stuff. So I brought the camera and just kind of like, you know, was snapping pictures along the way, not thinking anything of it. And I just happened to catch him walking. He was back in the green room there going up to the stage, and him and Bryden in the same frame. And he's wearing that Eat the Rich shirt. And he's like, well, this makes sense, right? You know, the both of us in the picture, Eat the Rich too, two of us, you know what I mean? So I was like, man, it's dope.
That's good, man. So I had something jotted down here about like asking you about kind of the dumbing down of the population, and if you ever kind of worry about like being too overly intelligent for the audience a lot of the time, because a lot of people look like they're just looking for surface level kind of, you know, something to party to. You know, that's often what gets raised up and elevated by at least the mainstream. Do you think about it in those kind of terms at all? Like, was that part of what led you to pull away from being so super lyrical on this?
No, this was more just more of a personal goal, more of a, you know, I feel like sometimes we can kind of get lost in the sauce a little bit and go too far one way. So I kind of want to pull back a little bit, try something a little bit different, and hopefully that starts bleeding into other songs too, where I think you'll find the people that have the most universal appeal, that are still lyrical people, know how to make good songs.
Yeah.
And they know when to dial it back. They know when to turn it up. You know, even when I'm dialing it back, I'm still being lyrical. Like, I'm not ever going to get away from that.
Sure.
But I'm just doing it in a way that's, you know, more universal, more digestible for people. So just to kind of use like the, you know, the main examples, like your Drakes and Kendricks and J. Cole's and stuff like that. All those dudes are lyrical dudes, but they know how to dial it back. They know how to make the songs, catchy songs that everyone can kind of grasp onto. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think if you kind of make a variety of things too, like my whole goal with this was to, well, for one, I really like the idea of working with one producer on a project. I feel like there's you know, like me and Meerkat have developed a chemistry. We've developed a friendship now. We'll go in, you know, I'll go in and kick it with them and, you know, kind of just hang out. And,
nice.
You know, there's lots of times where, you know, we're just like, I think the last time we hung out was his birthday, and, you know, there was people over, he was getting turned up, and he's like, let's make a song. So he's over there and banging on it, whatever. And then he's, you know, Stephen Hero rolled through, and we ended up all just making a song on the spot.
Nice.
And, you know, it's moments like that that kind of like drive me to want to keep doing this kind of thing. But I want to do like I want to do kind of like different projects. I want to do a project with him, with his beats and everything. And I wanted to do a project over like lo-fi type beats, and do a project over like, you know, some hyper type beats, and kind of like do multiple EPs all kind of with consistent vibes throughout the whole thing. What me and Meerkat do is a vibe on an EP. What me and this producer would doing lo-fi beats is a vibe. So it's like if you want to hear the lo-fi stuff, you go to this EP. You want to hear, you know, this happy melody driven type songs, you go to this project. You want to hear something that's harder, you know, you go to this one.
I think that's smart. Yeah.
I like the idea of that just because right now, like, you know, we live in a day and time where people just consume. And, you know, you could drop a project, they'll listen to it, and they'll be like, when you putting out the next one?
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
I feel bad asking it, man. But then there's also artists I talk to who drop like 5 fucking times a year. Like, you know, Sazy did 5 albums last year.
Yeah.
You know, so it's almost what the market is demanding at this point is a bunch of drops. It's just a question of what the best way to do that is. But I think you're smart in doing shorter projects that are very cohesive with the sound. I guess, can I ask when people can get this new project or?
So this one, I mean, it's been, we tried to drop it a couple times and, you know, it's always kind of fell to the wayside or, you know, got put on the back burner for whatever reason. I'm just, like I said, I do this now because I want to do it. I don't force anything. So, you know, right now I'm kind of putting a little push on it because I want it. For me, I need to, in my mind, I need to purge this from my mind. I need to get it out so I don't got to think about it no more. If not, it'll just kind of sit in the back of my head like, man, come on, you got to finish that and put that out. You know what I mean? And then, so you can move on to the next thing. So I got to do that. I got to purge it. I got to get it out. So, me and my other friend there who, I told you when we first started that I was in a group called One Mind, me and 2 other guys. Well, one of the 2 other guys I'm still good friends with, and he just built this crazy studio, and so he's going to be mixing the whole thing. Nice. So I've been going over there, and we've been kind of chipping away at, you know, mixing that. And I told him, I said, listen, this thing don't need to be perfect. I'm not striving for perfection. You know, let's just mix it so it sounds good in the car, and then get it out and move on. And then once that gets out, the plan is to get out the next one with Meerkat, because that's another one that's almost in the can. And I got another project that I'm working on right now too with another rapper producer from out here. He lives in Moncton. His name's Fox, Foxx.
Okay.
So I don't know if you heard of him or you've been put onto him, but
no, man, I'll check it out.
He is probably one of the hardest working musicians this side of the planet. I'm telling you right now, like, the guy is just nonstop. Like, you know, I've hit him up before and I'm like, yo, can you make a beat like this? Or, you know, can you flip this into like this? And he's like, yeah, cool. And then a couple hours later, he emails it to me and it's like, boom. He's like, this guy brings his computer to work and works on beats while he's working and stuff. You know what I mean?
Sounds like a good job to have, man. Yeah.
So he's actually originally from Yonkers, New York, and moved up here, and has been living in Moncton. And Moncton is like an hour and a half, 2 hours away from St. John.
Okay.
So we're pretty close. And I actually met him through Steven Hero. We did a show uptown, and just been in contact ever since. And he's, you know, he hit me up one day and he's like, yo, I made you a beat. I'm going to send you a beat. That's how it always starts for some reason. I made you a beat. And then it's like, all right.
That's a good way to reach out to artists, man. You know, or like you said, to hit artists being like, hey, I wrote this verse over top of your beat. What do you think of this? Yeah. You know, like,
So he hit me up with the beat or he hit me up with the pack. He made a pack. It was like 5-6 beats. I went through the beats. I'm like, ooh, some of these are like undeniable. And they reminded me of like old, back in the day, Just Blaze beats.
Nice. Yeah.
They had that. So I'm like, man, this is perfect because these beats don't sound anything like the other stuff that I'm doing. And I also got a bunch of songs with another friend of mine who produces kind of the same way as I write, as we'll say somewhat of a hobbyist, but not a hobbyist, right?
Leisurely.
Leisurely, right?
Yeah.
And we got songs too, and all his beats are like sample based, and they're more kind of lo-fi type tracks or whatever. So I kind of got different sounds all over the place. My problem is just finishing something. It's just sticking with one of them, finishing it. So this is my personal goal right now. Finish this one, work on this, finish this one, get the move on. You know what I mean? So
that's good priorities, man, because I think a lot of artists get stuck in kind of a limbo where it's, the old cliche that like, what is it? Perfect is the enemy of finished or something along those lines. And
yeah, man.
yeah, it's
And
easy.
that's it. I've always been a perfectionist, and that was another goal with the Meerkat project too, is to try not to overthink anything and try not to be perfect and just go in with it and just have it, driven by your feeling rather
Sure.
than this technical thing that goes on in your head like, I'm going to get stuck on this line. Well, no, I'm not going to get stuck on these lines anymore. I'm just going to rewrite it. Boom, done. Okay, move on.
Yeah.
So it's little roadblocks, little personal goals, little roadblocks in your mind that you create over time, and you develop these bad habits, and then it's just you got to rewire a little bit and rethink about certain things. So
For real, man.
yeah.
What's the recording process usually like for you? Have you got a home studio set up, or are you going over to record? Like you mentioned that you'd been, in some sessions in person with Meerkat now,
Yeah.
and had been working more kind of organically in the same room a bit with him. But was that how that started, or was it a lot of sending files back and forth and home recording stuff?
Yeah, it was just sending stuff back and forth. So I live just outside St. John. I live about 25 minutes outside St. John right now,
Sure.
in a small town, and he lives right in St. John. So I have to go to St. John all the time. That's like, that's where Costco is. You got to, you know what I mean? You got to go
Sure.
to Costco. So it's like,
Yeah.
and that's where, like the venues are and bars and all that stuff. So anytime we do a show or anything like that, you got to go in there for that. So he started off sending beats, and I would just record them here. And I've kind of always recorded myself. I remember I bought a mic and interface and all that a long time ago, and kind of just been, using the same thing ever since. So whenever I get a chance, I'm more so like recording the stuff to kind of hear it back and then go back and be like, all right, what can I fix? Does this sound right? I'll go and listen to it in the car, and it's like, okay, well, something doesn't, vibe right. And that's another thing too with this project with Meerkat, was like I try to not be married to anything and go, is this hook really good, or are you just saying it's good because you just want to move on? You go and listen to it, and you try to listen to it with new ears and from an outside perspective, and it's like, is someone gonna like, is it gonna do this, or is it gonna go and then go like this a little bit? It's like, well, so maybe we should go back and change that and then rewrite it or rework it or do whatever, right? I find that was another thing I did back in the day was, I was much more of a hip hop purist. I was much more of a perfectionist. Was much more married to certain ideas, and it's like it's my way or the highway, and no, this is good and this is how it should be, and blah blah blah. And it's like, man, you got to let go of all that stuff. You got to let go of all that stuff. It ended up keeping me boxed in.
Yeah.
To doing certain things. It didn't allow me to kind of expand in different areas. It didn't allow me to experiment with different things because I just had this hip hop purist mind that, if you ain't talking about something, if you're not as lyrical as you can be, then it ain't shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it ain't like that at all, because one of my favorite artists is YG.
There you go. I mean,
Is
he's not
YG
talking about
lyrical?
anything too important, probably, but yeah.
Nah, but his stuff bumps in the car, and he's got the catchy hooks, and the stuff just and to me he comes across as an authentic person. He comes across as a genuine person. So I thoroughly enjoy his music and his albums and stuff like that, because there's a certain sound to it. There's this West Coast sound. He sounds authentic. He is by no stretch of the imagination a lyrical whatever. You know what I mean? But he knows how to put it together. So
yeah,
everyone plays their part. Everyone has different, that's what YG does. He doesn't do what a Kendrick or like what a King Los does. And
That's it. There's so many different lanes that somebody can master, and yeah, none are necessarily better than the others. I think they all are important in under the umbrella of hip hop, right? Somebody's got to make songs for strippers to dance to, right? You know,
that's right.
so somebody's got to make songs for, you know, people to cry to when they're sad. You know,
But also too, like, you know, I feel like we're getting to a point now where, um, because hip hop is relatively a new genre, and over time, you know, it started off a certain way, and then you started to slowly see it splinter into different categories, but nobody ever kind of puts a label on those categories, right? So
yeah,
they're always kind of just comparing one artist to another artist, but it's not really a fair comparison. You know what I mean? You're not going to compare, you know, a Young Thug to a King Los. They're both under a hip hop umbrella, but they're you know, it's
that's
like
a really good point, man. There's not nearly as many defined subgenres in hip hop as there are,
right,
you know, in some of the other genres.
but I think because there wasn't enough artists, or there wasn't enough examples of artists to be like, oh, well, all of these people sound like this, and all of these people sound like this. So you're kind of just looking at them all with one scope instead of stepping back and going, oh no, these guys are making, you know, like trap rap, or these guys are making like soulful. These guys are making, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, well,
yeah,
let's, you know, not to like put people in categories and boxes and stuff like that, but if you're going to do that, just realize that we're not going to make a, you know, a list and go and put a Young Thug against a Los, for example.
right. Yeah, it just
We're
doesn't
just not going to do that.
Yeah.
Right. You don't do that with boxing and weight classes and stuff. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing. You gotta kind of, you know. So that's why when they do like you know, when they started doing those verses, right?
Yeah, right.
They try to match them up as best as possible. You know what I mean? Like you're not putting completely opposite artists against each other. You're putting people that are kind of in the same vein a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up verses, man. I was just watching, I guess T.I. made a diss to 50 Cent that dropped like yesterday or something.
Yeah.
I guess that the whole like story of the beef there boils back to like a decade ago when they were talking about doing a verses against each other, and have just been like taking pot shots at each other since then, I guess. But yeah, strange that you mentioned verses. Just like I watched that 2 hours ago. Recap.
I only jumped into that beef when his son was going off.
Yeah,
I seen that and I was like, oh, what's going on?
Yeah,
like,
he took offense.
I missed something.
Yeah,
I missed something. But hey, listen, dude ain't wrong. He's not wrong, because if that was somebody, you know, making fun of the way your mother looked and stuff like that,
oh, for sure. Yeah.
Be doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like he should be standing on business like that. Good for him.
I loved when he said, like, I was raised by T.I. or something. My dad was T.I.P. I was raised like this. Like, I'm not gonna let that shit go. T.I. had some good lines on there too about like, you think you're the only one who was in the streets before you blew up or whatever. Yeah. Be careful. Yeah.
And listen, I heard the T.I. track, and you know, it's cool. It's cool. But I'm glad that he took it there. He went to the booth with it.
Right.
He didn't do a post about it and try to out picture him or out caption him or something. It's like,
yeah, okay,
well, you rap and I rap, and you're saying some things, so I'm going to go address that in a track and put it out. And if you want to do that back, you know what I mean? Like, let's keep it like that. So
the speculation I was hearing this afternoon was about whether or not 50 would even actually respond, because he doesn't really rap much anymore. Like, he was on a Nas album a while back or something, but you don't really hear 50 rapping much. He's just kind of a professional internet troll at this point. Well, yeah, I think he makes TV or something, makes a bunch of money off TV, but yeah. What do you think?
Be interesting. Be interesting. It's not something I'm like, you know, too super, too invested in, but
me neither. Yeah,
it's entertaining nonetheless. Yeah,
for sure. So dude, did you end up dropping that, like Rhythm of the Night track? The one with the Rhythm of the Night sample? Okay.
So we, not the track itself, but the video.
Okay.
The video's up.
Okay,
yeah.
Nice. I'll have to check out the full video. I just saw the clips that you had posted on Instagram there. Will that be on the new project, or is that a standalone thing, or?
That's just okay. So referencing back to One Mind, the original group we were in. So the other guy on that track is one of the other members of One Mind.
Okay.
So when we started linking back up again, and I was going over there, and he's like, "Man, I wrote this verse to this beat. You should just throw something on and let's have some fun." He heard the beat, heard the verse. I'm like, "Yeah, cool." Went back, did it, and didn't think anything of it. And then he's like, "Yo, we should do a little video for it." All right, cool. Yeah, let's
Little
do a little
video.
video for it.
That's one
And
of the
then,
flashiest videos I've seen for a while, man. I didn't even watch the
yeah,
full thing, but the clips. Yeah.
and all of that was just like done on the fly. So the guy that directed it and shot it and stuff like that, he's another homeboy of mine that we go back, and he's been getting into more doing film and video, and he's working on a short film, he's working on a movie. There was a movie shot or a TV show shot in St. John last year before, that's on Sci-Fi Channel. It's called Revival. He worked on the set of that for the entirety of it. So he's just kind of like, he's starting up his media company. So he's really trying to
Show
get his
what he
hands
can
on
do,
different
kind
things.
of thing. Yeah.
But also he's just the kind of person, he's very like-minded in the sense of like, I'm a creative person, you're a creative person. Let's link up and do creative things. So anytime something like that happens, I'm like, yo, you want to be involved? Here's the song, here's send my idea for the video. And he's like, cool, let's do it. Link up on this night. We actually we went up to his studio, which is right at Uptown St. John, and kind of just came up with the shots on the spot. There was no real super thought out plan for it, and it ended up turning out. So
Nice.
this is me and this guy, the other guy rapping, his name is Brian, goes by Joseph Coven on is his rap name. But we were trying to think back to when the last time we did a track, and it was like 15 years ago. So this is kind of like the first time we linked back up, because once we kind of all went our separate ways after One Mind, we kind of just all did our own thing. And, there was a couple tracks here and there that we would get on with each other. And then it was more so just kind of focusing on, doing music with other people. And we were always still friends and kept contact and stuff like that. But,
yeah,
then we had kids, and our lives started going in different directions, and they would kind of do this and then do this and then do this, and you know what I mean. So
yeah, makes maintaining an actual group pretty difficult. But yeah.
But it was less about the group and more just about the he's a lifelong friend. You know what I mean. So
yeah,
me and him, those people that months or a year will go by, and you talk to them again, it's like no time passed at all. He's one of those dudes. So
beautiful.
When we started hanging out again, and I asked him about mixing that EP, I'm like, man, you got to help me out, because I don't trust many people with the sound and what I'm going for and stuff like that. I trust this dude because he always mixed our songs back in the day. He's the one that booked our shows. He's the one that, he's known me the longest. So it's like, when I tell him something, he gets it. I don't got to explain nothing to him.
Knows what you're looking for off the bat. Yeah.
So I just give it to him and go, do your thing. You know what I mean?
Right
so
on, well, I'm looking forward to hearing all the new music it sounds like you got coming up, man. It sounds like you've been busy.
Trying.
Can I ask you, so I always like to just open the door for the artists I'm talking to, if you'd like to say anything about what's going on in America right now. I've got a section here, current events, and I feel like just what's going on in America right now is the most current event anybody can really bring up. Day to day, it's different fuckery, but it's all.
You trying to start me up right now. You're trying to start me up.
I'm trying to start you up, yeah. So just I open the door and ask every guest I've had for the last few weeks, anything to say about what's going on in America, and beyond that, would you do a show in America right now?
I would not. I would not do a show in America. In fact, we are about an hour and a half away from the border. In my real life, I do, as a side job, I do real estate photography. So I actually got offered to do a job on a place called Campobello Island. And in the wintertime, the only way to get to Campobello Island, because they shut down the ferry to go from the mainland over to this place, you have to go through Maine. And there's a bridge, but you got to go through Maine. So
the island itself is in Canada, but to get there, you've got to go through Maine. Is that the deal?
by bridge.
Okay, yeah, okay.
But from like March through, I think it's October or November or something, you can take a ferry there
Okay.
in Canada.
Yeah.
So Canadian land to Canadian land. But when the ferry's off, the only way to get there is by this bridge. And that bridge happens to be going through Maine.
Sure.
So I got offered a couple jobs out there and I would have made, a good chunk of money. And I had been approached about it because they asked me, do you got your passport and all this stuff? And I said, yeah. And this was like before Trump had got in for the second time.
Okay.
And then when they hit me back to go and do this stuff, it was after he got in. And I just said, listen, I can't do it. So I had to turn it down. I turned down the opportunity, which, I don't mind doing, because when it comes to this stuff, I stand on business. I'm not, I try to, if you know better, you do better. So if there's certain things I know about, like, how people will protest or boycott certain businesses and things and stuff like that. I'm not like full out like that, but if I can minimize my consumption of certain goods and products and services and stuff like that, I'm going to do it, because we're only human. We also, have 2 kids, and we're trying to do our best to, we don't have unlimited resources to be able to just pick and choose whatever we want to do. So sometimes you get stuck.
Of course, yeah. I do my best to avoid buying anything from America, but sometimes the odd product they only make in America or whatever. So,
Listen, my wife was hurt because she has a P.O. box down there, so she would like to order things in the States, and we would drive down to get it just on the other side of the border, and she don't do that no more. So she's the most upset about that. But no, it's like we're me and her are on the same page when it comes to that stuff. Like we're not one of those couples where one has different political views than the other. No, it's
I don't understand how those things work, man. That doesn't compute to me. I couldn't imagine being married to somebody who I thought different politically. Then that would be so fucking weird.
And I've been in our TikTok algorithm the last couple of days now, seeing these people explain these situations, and I just don't get it. I don't get it. And I just, at this point, when it comes to, specifically Trump and his whole administration and his conglomerate and his associates and all that stuff, there's a line.
Yeah.
There's a hard line. Like, I knew there was a line 10 years ago. And, you'll get people that, like, nowadays will ask real dumb questions like, why do you think Trump is racist? And it's like, I don't think he is. I know he is, first of all.
Yeah, he's said it pretty much, I think.
And if you are still asking that question in 2026, then
you're not paying attention to enough policy.
Then you've chosen a side.
Yeah.
And I have to assume, as one adult to another who has access to the same information, that you have chosen to not see the same stuff that we can all see for ourselves. This isn't like hidden information. This isn't like, you're looking on page 1085, the Encyclopedia Britannica, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, you don't got to hunt for this information. It is literally right in front of your face.
That's probably a bar there, man, that they've chosen to not see. Anyways.
Yeah.
There's something there. Good
work. There's something there. There's something there. But it's, you know what I mean? Like, everything is so obvious right now. And, I had just seen this comment on Facebook, and I do my best to not try and engage in certain comment sections and stuff like that, because there was a time I was hard on it, and it was probably during COVID and the Black Lives Matter stuff. And that was really kind of like the eye-opening era for me when it came to friends and family and extended friends and family and stuff like that. And even people in your own town that and see in the grocery store, and your kids go to school together or whatever, and then they start slowly making these comments and asking certain questions or not asking questions, and you're like, man, like, I wish I didn't know this stuff about you. You know what I mean? And then now everyone feels like they can just go online and say whatever they want, and they become these like professional devil advocate position players. Like they're just being contrarian. Like it's for
debate club masters, right? The fucking South Park joke, the master debaters out there,
yeah.
Need to get their last word.
They're killing it, by the way.
Yeah, South Park. Yeah, that's one of the best shows on TV right now, I think, for sure.
But I mean, it's these people, like they don't. I want to say they don't realize, but I know they realize to a certain extent. Like every time, I've said this before too, that sometimes it's less about the thing that happens and more about the response to that thing. So just to give an example, like the whole Charlie Kirk thing.
Yeah.
The amount of conversations around that, you had people that didn't know who he was, that are just see this dude who talked get shot in front of a bunch of people, and then all of a sudden their algorithm is just feeding them clips of him saying stuff about religion and that he's a godly person and blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, that you can get away with that for the first little bit, but then if you post a couple of things about that, or if you actively say that out loud and someone goes, he's not the person that you think he is, to me, that would make me go,
yeah, maybe I should check some more of his clips and go really dig a little deeper into this guy's content, right?
But instead, what they do is they dig their heels in.
Yeah.
And rather than admit that they were wrong about that person, they would just find every excuse in the book to show that that's not what he meant when he said that, or you're taking that clip out of context, or you're just you hate on everybody. You know what I mean? It's like, when no, and these
actually,
other,
it's the opposite. I think we shouldn't hate on anybody.
Yeah, and that's him too. It's like, and then them saying that the left is celebrating his death and stuff like that, and it's like bro, you need to what people don't understand, they don't get context and nuance.
Yeah,
they don't get that situations like that aren't black and white, that they go beyond the scope of just seeing this person and going, is he a good person or is he a bad person? There's much more to it than that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more that goes into defining who's someone like a Charlie Kirk or someone like a Candace Owens or Tommy Lawrence, all those like right-wing Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan is another person that's like, you can find a bunch of clips of him being cool.
Yeah, right. I'm not gonna lie, man. When I first stumbled across Joe Rogan, it was like fucking 2010 or something. Like, I was listening to Joe Rogan podcast when he was just posting them on SoundCloud. I haven't listened to Joe Rogan podcast since probably about 2015 or so at this point. Like, he lost me when he did that flip flop. But like that dude, he used to talk about like, oh, I was raised in San Francisco by hippies and like, promote equality and like never talk about the shit he talks about nowadays. Like
he would just smoke weed and talk about aliens,
right?
You know what I mean? And that's all it was.
And have experts on the show who would tell him stuff. But now he fucking panders to the right wing for whatever reason. I don't know, paycheck or something. Yeah.
Well, I think people just get wrapped up into it too, and they start seeing this like us versus them. And they get really wrapped up in that narrative and that kind of trajectory and where we're going. It's like you have to pick a side. The only side I pick is between right and wrong. That's it.
Yeah.
Not right and left. It's right and wrong. And I could say a lot of things about people on the left, but the reality of the situation is a lot of the terrible things are coming from the right side and this right wing extremism. There's no you hear that expression before where it's like left wing, right wing, same bird.
That one drives me nuts, man. That the whole trying to both sides it, like there's something to it that, like, yeah, they're all rich people, and whether the liberals in or the conservatives are in or the Democrats or the Republicans, rich people are going to do some shady shit to stuff their pockets,
Right.
undoubtedly, right? But
Yeah.
like that doesn't mean that these things are the same on the left and the right.
Right.
One side is just openly pushing, more people to go be outspokenly racist and fucking is out there with masked guys arresting people and shit. To me, you can't both sides the argument. Like, what's the worst thing that the left has ever done? Got Jordan Peterson fired because he wouldn't use pronouns? Like, who fucking cares?
You know how many times I've asked a question like that, where I go, and this is where the conversation always ends, because they can't answer the conversation, or they can't answer the question. They go, well, I want you to pick something out that's really bad that someone did on the left, and I guarantee I could eclipse that with 50 more examples of people doing it on the right,
Yeah.
10 times worse, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah,
definitely. And I said, go, let's do it. Let's do it right now. You give the example, right? If your worst example is, someone saying that drag queens reading the kids,
yeah,
that's the worst thing that you can find on there, or forcing somebody to use pronouns, or
most of the guys around here will go to like, oh, Trudeau is part of the World Economic Forum, and it's like, dude, that is an economic group that everyone's part of. It doesn't fucking, it's not the same as the right has the IDU. Harper is like the leader behind fucking Brexit and MAGA and this whole separatist bullshit movement in Alberta right now. Like, that's all the same bird. That's man. For fucking sure. But that's the real global organization people should be worried about.
That stuff is so crazy to me. Like, and these people will just go in circles and circles and circles and pivot, and they'll just keep throwing stuff at the wall until something sticks.
Yeah.
They'll just be like I've had these conversations before, and recently with somebody, who I've known for a long time, and ended up having to cut him off too. Because it's like, you actively poke me, you actively send me messages, you want to get my opinion on something because you don't understand where I'm coming from, and then I give it, and then your immediate response isn't to address what I just said, it's to pivot to the next point, because you're like, okay, well, what about this, and what about this, and what about this, and what about this, and then I'll take the time and go, address this, address this, address this, address this. And then you just move on to the next point. Like, that stuff didn't even just happen. And then we can't have a productive conversation because you're not taking into consideration, the context and nuance of things. It's like, there was one time where, they would call Biden a pedophile, because they would take these little clips of him,
he like bent over and sniffed a girl or something. Like, that's what they'd say. Yeah,
right.
He likes to sniff little kids. It's like, well, yeah.
And again, I'm just giving like the most obvious examples, but like, and then you go to the other side with Trump and all of the things that he's done in his lifetime.
So all much of the creepier. Clips,
yeah. All of the clips that he's talked about his daughter, the weird way. The Miss America teen pageants, all the accusations.
Hearing him say that he grabs women by the pussy, and then having the world just like, that's just locker room talk, these guys would try to say. And it's like, that's not any fucking, I've been in locker rooms, I've hung around with blue collar dudes on work sites. Yeah. I've hung around with jocks in locker rooms in my life. Like, nobody talks like that, like nobody fucking says that. And if they did, everybody would look at them like they were fucking nuts. Like,
the thing with that too is like, that particular clip of him saying that, and the stuff January 6th and all that stuff, we've almost kind of like beat that to death now, that it doesn't mean anything anymore.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we've kind of like become squeezed all the juice out of that.
Yeah. And it just doesn't even matter anymore, but it's
doesn't even matter.
He was showing us who he was then, and we were trying to fucking scream at people, no, don't let this guy be president. And
but then they go, they'll go like, oh, they're bringing this up again. Oh, they're doing this again. It's like, and then, the same thing when, specifically around the time with the whole Black Lives Matter stuff, people would be calling other people racist and stuff like that.
Sure.
Then that started losing its meaning too, because it's like, oh, well, I guess everybody's racist. Oh, you just throw the word racist around. Like, well, when you're being racist, I'm gonna call you racist, period. You know, there's no like throwing this around. There are people that will take there's always going to be extremists in anything that we talk about. There's always going to be the people that take it too far, that overanalyze certain things, like, you know. But at the same time, like for me, and specifically with like, you know, as an example, specifically with like the Black Lives Matter stuff and Black people and what they will see as microaggressions. And I'm mixed, like, you know, my mom's Black, my dad's white, so, you know, I've been privy to a lot of conversations
where people think you're a white guy and they start shooting off at the mouth, right? Yeah.
Right.
I've been around a lot of those too. I'm not mixed, but living in Alberta, you hang around enough white guys and you start hearing white guys say shit that is wildly out of pocket. And that was when I stopped hanging around a lot of guys in Alberta.
Yeah. And like, you know, with me, it's like, you know, there's certain people that will see me one way, certain people that will see me another way. You know, back in high school, I would grow my hair out and I got, you know, afro. I used to wear cornrows and afro and all this stuff. So it was a lot more obvious then.
Sure.
And in high school, you know, the high school I went to, there was probably this many Black people in the school, you know what I mean? So it was like, and then, you know, my nickname was Black Mike in school. Like, you know, and it's like, it's okay, right? And then just that whole, there's so many like layers to that to unpack, but it's like, that's just, these people don't get it. These people don't get it. There was another girl in the school they used to call Aunt Jemima.
Oh my God. That's fucking awful, man. Yeah.
But to them, they're not calling her the N-word. They're just being fun and playful, and, you know, and but they don't get it. Right. Yeah. They just don't get it. So I would hear so many different little racist things. And to me, when you know, white people will get upset at Black people for getting upset over a lot of different things, you don't understand how many times they've had to deal with this in their lifetime, how many overt things, how many microaggressions, how many covert things. You don't understand that all of this, they have a reason to overanalyze. They have a reason to sit back and go, to be very critical of everything and everyone's intention and stuff like this, which, you know, if we look at right now, the thing that just happened at the BAFTA Awards with Delroy Lindo and...
Oh, right. Somebody with Tourette's yelled out a racial slur or something. I didn't see the clip, but I read about it. Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of people. So there's this cross conversation happening right now between some, you know, understanding someone with Tourette's and how they can't control that kind of stuff. But then there's another conversation with, you know, that he did say the N-word. He did say it specifically when two Black guys were on the stage. There's again, this is one of these very like nuanced conversations where, you know, there may not be a super solid right answer to something like this. But if you're Black and you were in the room and you heard that, you're going to feel a certain way.
Yeah. How are you not going to take offense? You don't know that guy has Tourette's. You don't know what the fuck. Yeah.
No. But even if they do know that he has Tourette's, that word coming out of a white person's mouth, they're going to feel a certain way. To which degree they feel it is up to that person.
Yeah.
But you cannot sit there and go, you shouldn't feel like that because he has this. You don't get to dictate that person's emotions on a word like that they've heard over their lifetime many times used against them and weaponized against them and stuff like that. You don't get to do that.
Yeah.
So one other thing I heard too was that he said it multiple times that night around different Black people. So then the conversation then turns to, you know, why is that word specifically coming out at those particular times? Why not?
And
why not just say fuck
who
shit,
has
piss,
been around?
You know?
Yeah, who has been around him that's been saying that word at those times? That's made that association, you know. The thing is, I don't know enough about Tourette's to know really how that shit works, right? Like, you got to be a doctor to fucking know how that works. Like,
that's another perfect example of something that is important right now. I don't know enough about that to have a comment on it.
Yeah.
More people need to say that.
Yeah.
More people need to say, I don't have an opinion on that because I don't know enough about it. Or maybe I shouldn't be the one talking about something like that. It's okay to say that. It's okay to not have an opinion on everything and everything. You know what I mean? Like, it's.
I was thinking earlier, man, I was in a chat for a morning show that I watch, and somebody said, like, Doobyis, I really respect your opinion and your voice in this chat every day. But, you know, I got to disagree with you on something you just said. And, like, that's fine. Disagree with me on things I said. I was talking about literacy rates, and I had said that, like, the average reading level in Alberta right now is fucking grade 6. So they had said, and earlier I wanted to bring it up, but you mentioned, like, you know, people don't read between the lines. People don't read the subtext. And somebody had said people don't read the subtext for, you know, all these conversations. And they don't get the nuance. And I kind of answered, like, of course they don't read the subtext, guys. They don't read the real text. Like, people who are reading at a grade 6 reading level can barely fucking read a paragraph and then, like, summarize what they just read to you. Like, that's the reality.
But the other part of, like, the literacy aspect isn't just that you can read it; it's the comprehension part of it too.
Yeah.
Are you actually understanding what you're reading?
Right.
Are you actually grasping? You know.
So there's a good chunk of the population that just can't. And so, you know, it got me thinking about how, like, sure, like, it's fine that somebody, you know, comes at me like that. I don't care at all. And so, like, they're saying, like, I got to disagree with you. And it's like, good, please do. I learn from when people disagree with me. You know, like you said, if somebody tells me that somebody I'm championing is a bag of shit, like, I'm going to go dig in more and find out whether I really agree with, you know, still championing that guy or not. And just because, like, I'm a guy with a microphone in front of me doesn't mean that all my takes are fucking right or to be taken as some sort of fact or whatever. Right? Yeah. You know, I'm just spewing thoughts and trying to start conversations and stuff. So, like, I think that that's a mentality that this whole society kind of has to get over, is that, like, you know, every influencer that we see on our feed, they're just giving opinions, you know, like, people talk about, like, oh, news is bias. And it's like, well, of course news is bias. Everything everybody fucking says has bias in it. Like, if anything in any script anywhere has some bias to it, that's just kind of common sense. If you're somebody with fucking critical thinking skills and the ability to read subtext and analyze what you're reading and shit, right? But a lot of the populace just doesn't have that. So
they don't have it, and they don't care to have it. That's the other thing too, is a lot of these people don't actually care about what they're talking about.
Yeah.
They don't care enough about any of this stuff. They just want to be involved in the conversation. They want to get their clicks, they want to get their likes, and they want to get people going, yeah, you were right. That was, good. You know what I mean? They like that feeling. It's like a dopamine hit to them. So that's why they keep engaging with this kind of stuff. But, you know, it becomes what they end up doing. And when you zoom out, they end up muddying the waters. They end up reducing these conversations. And a lot of these conversations we're having right now cannot be reduced. You can't sit there and minimize something that is so important like that. Yeah. You can't do it, because then what you're doing is you're hurting the progression on that. You're impeding on progress by doing, like, just inserting yourself into conversations that you don't belong in. Like, it's okay to, you know, there was a time back in, like, high school when I was super into, like, conspiracy theories. This is when, like, the Bowling for Columbine and Zeitgeist and all these, like, you know what I mean, like, New World Order and the money system and all this stuff, and you're like, and then you're listening to Immortal Technique and he's saying stuff, and, you know, then Dead Prez, and then it's like, okay, well, yeah, you get real, like, amped off this stuff, but
we need Dead Prez back, man. Nobody talks about Dead Prez enough. I want them back.
Man, listen, I'm telling you, their Let's Get Free is a top 5 album for me.
Yeah.
If you can't tell in my music that influences me, then that's so. But so the conspiracy theories back in the day, they used to be, to a certain degree, harmless. They were just the things that we kind of connected the dots on, and sat in our computer room and watched. And then once we left the computer room, you might talk about it amongst the friends that enjoyed that kind of content too.
Yeah.
But you weren't going online and screaming it at the top of your lungs and going to somebody when they go, man, I don't think that's right, and they go, no, you're wrong, and you know what I mean? Like they're drawing these hard lines in the sand. There's no room for. Um, uh, so this is what I compare it to. I compare it to magicians. These people will watch a magician do a trick. And if they can't explain how the trick was done, to them, it's magic. There's no other explanation.
Right.
Even though we know that person's not magic, he's just a master of illusion.
Right.
There's a method.
Really quick with his hands or some shit. But
yeah. And like sometimes you watch this stuff and you're like, man, that was crazy. I have no idea how he did that. But not for 1 second do I ever think that guy is magic.
Yeah.
I just think I don't know how he did that. But these guys, when they talk about these things and, like the flat earthers and all this stuff, if they can't explain certain things that make sense to them, then it has to be this one thing.
Right.
It can't be anything else. It has to be this one thing.
Yeah.
You think about it. If X and Y equals this and this and this, it's got to be this.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, you haven't thought about the other thing. And then when you actually hear somebody who is well versed on the subject or knows about it, has studied it and stuff like this, and they present a reasonable explanation, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But then they're like, no, I don't believe that. It's what I think. It's what I think. And then they just keep rolling with that. Like over the last 10 years, I've really disconnected with a lot of people.
I think a lot of people have.
Yeah. And like just really, I started drawing the hard lines with who I associate with and who I allow to steal my energy or to give energy and stuff like that. So, I had a friend. He was a close friend and stuff like this, and I could see, over time, they're starting to splinter a little bit, and he started going down this conspiracy path, and I remember the conversation, and it was when those emails leaked out with Fauci, the Fauci emails. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
And there was some of the emails where in the title of the email it said bioweapon, right? Bioweapon, and then all of a sudden the body of the email was like this chemical compositions like CO2 X minus whatever. It's like, and you're like, oh shit, like this is the leak. This is the leak. Now, any normal person looks at that. I don't know what the fuck that means.
Yeah.
I don't know what any of that shit means, right? So then I started questioning him on this. I go, you're telling me I'm wrong on this. You're telling me that this is the hard proof right here that we've been waiting for, that COVID was a bioweapon and blah, blah, blah. And this is the leaked email and Anthony Fauci's evil and he should be shot and all this stuff, like to the extreme, right?
Yeah.
And I said, I'm just going to ask you a couple questions. And if my simple questions get you twisted into a pretzel, then maybe you need to rethink this, right? And I said, who's the sender of the email? And they go, well, this guy. I go, okay, let's type that guy into Google. All right, well, he was a known person, like known conspiracy theorist and blah, blah, blah. I said, where was the email going to? Turns out the email was just a general email address that anyone could message from the National Institute of Health.
Okay.
You go on their website under the contact us portion.
There is contact, yeah.
Anyone can message them. Okay. So first of all, it comes from a conspiracy theorist who's known to do this kind of stuff. The email address isn't like an inside private email. It's one that anyone can email. And then I go, what about the body of the text? Let's take that and just pop it into Google and see what happens. And it turns out it was from some scientific journal about a vaccine or something like that. Didn't have anything to do with bioweapon anything. They just manipulated the title and
just
and
put
I
it in a
said,
chemical equation they knew nobody would be able to just look at and decipher, the average person.
right.
Yeah.
And it's that classic clip of, you know, Charlie Kirk and the other interviewer there when he's like, look at this picture, and you know, this is a baby fetus and blah blah blah. He's like, actually, it's a dolphin.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And
yeah.
it's like because you don't actually know. Or what's this right here? This right here is it's poison. It's the chemical composition for poison. Actually, no, that's the chemical composition for an apple.
Right.
You don't know the difference.
Yeah.
Right. You don't got the chops to be able to decipher that kind of stuff. So when I present that to him, he gets all mad. He gets mad and he gets defensive and he goes, how about you believe what you believe and I believe what I believe? And I go, that's not healthy, bro. I go, that's not healthy. And I said, I'm coming at you just trying to give you some food for thought, something to think about, looking at this through a different lens. And this goes back to what you were saying about the mainstream media and, you know, the biases and stuff like that. If you look at all of these news sites, there's a core truth in all of them.
Yeah.
You can go to AP News and Fox News and MSNBC and CNN and all that stuff, and something will happen,
Well,
right?
the thing that they're all talking about did happen. You know, they're just
Right.
going to talk about it from different angles, right? Like,
Right, exactly. So it's up to you as the viewer, as the reader, as the digester, to look past all those biases and go, what's the actual thing happening right now?
yeah.
Okay. And where can I find, you know, is this a credible source? Is this like, there's like a list of questions that you need. And you know what? We all fall victim to false things sometimes, especially with, you know, AI and all that stuff going on now.
Oh God.
It's very easy to do that,
Yeah.
but it's also easy to admit when you're wrong too, and just go, oh shit, I was wrong about that. You know what I mean? And then just reformulate, recenter,
Yeah.
and then keep it moving instead of digging your heels in and going, I was right about this. Or, you know what? Now is the time for conspiracy theorists to go, I told you there was a cult of baby eating, blood sucking, whatever. And then we go, yeah, but also admit that we told you Trump was a pedophile too.
Yeah. Right. Both sides are a little bit right. Yeah. Both sides. This one. Yeah.
And like that was another thing too. Like I was always, you know, I always said that I didn't not believe that there was a cult of people that did weird shit like that.
Oh yeah.
I just didn't think it was who you said it was. You guys said it was Oprah and Jay-Z and Ellen DeGeneres and Tom Hanks. That's who you said it was.
It just happens to be the outspoken liberal celebrities or whatever, right? Like,
yeah. But you, like, and without zero proof on any of that stuff. So, like, yeah, I agree that there's people like that. And going back to like the old conspiracies, I don't know if you ever remember, and this is like a major throwback of Alex Jones when he first started coming around and when he snuck into Bohemian Grove.
Yeah, I know about Alex Jones's trip to Bohemian Grove. I've seen the movie of that or whatever, the video of that.
So that was like that was one of those first things that happened where, you know, you got this regular guy who snuck into this apparent like top secret place where they do
rich
these
people
types of
and
things.
shit, right? Like,
right. Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, and same thing with like, you know, aliens and all that stuff. I'll always take information in and kind of file it back here. And then as time goes on, you take in more information and you start connecting some dots, but you don't stand on the rooftops and go, this is what it is. And this is what they're trying to do. You kind of just go, well, some of this makes sense now because I remember that thing I read about this. And I remember that video I seen over here about this. And you kind of just look at it as much as possible through a reasonable lens.
Yeah.
And this is what these people don't do. They don't look at it through a reasonable lens. The whole shooting that happened out in BC, first thing that came out was that the person was trans.
Yeah, right.
And of course, you know, what a terrible time it is right now to be a trans person when you have a whole subset of human beings hating on you for something that you never did, were never a part of, that was never, you were never part of that conversation until some headline put it in there and it
Right.
started circulating online. And then you zoom out and you look at who's doing most of the mass shootings and stuff like that.
White guys.
Do you want us to start painting you with the same brush? Because you don't like when we do that.
Yeah, 100%. Right?
You don't like when we do that. Then you start clutching your pearls and getting this like victim thing going on. And
the other thing about that BC thing, man, is so the guns were taken by the police and then they petitioned them and gave those guns back to somebody in that household. I'm not exactly sure of the whole details of it, but I know that was part of the story.
right.
And I didn't hear a single person say anything about like, hey, maybe the cops shouldn't fucking give guns back to people who they've taken them from in the first place, because that's not what the gun advocates on the right, they're going to fucking pipe up and say. They're just going to start talking about the trans identity of the person. And I think that's just a short-sighted way to try to scapegoat, just like they're scapegoating immigrants and keep people's attention anywhere except for
they're muddying the waters.
Yeah.
They're minimizing things that shouldn't be minimized and making mountains out of molehills that shouldn't be. They're being put at the forefront of conversation. What are we talking about? Like what are we doing here? We got so many problems.
Yeah.
That
they elected fascists down south because of a trans athlete winning a fucking high school swim meet or whatever, like they blew up some of those types of things so much that like people voted against Kamala based on that. I mean, and a host of other things, obviously, but like that was among the main fucking talking points for his entire campaign was just like anti-trans shit. And it was like, really?
And
this is
so
what we're basing our political choices on now? Like,
there's another example too.
I mean,
like trans people in sports. That's something that, you can have a reasonable conversation about that, but you have the most ill intent people going into those conversations and just using that as a Trojan horse for their bigotry.
Right.
And they're not there in good faith. They're not there to offer any sort of reasonable solution. They're not there to present any sort of factual information. They're not there trying to tag in people that know more about certain things than they
they're
do.
Certainly not there trying to learn from people correcting them, right? That's the other thing.
That too.
Yeah,
Like when you break it down, and I remember I looked up the stats. I have a hard time recalling numbers right off the top of my head, but the amount of trans people in sports is next. You know what? You have a better chance of playing against somebody like Shaq in high school. Can you imagine the basketball players that played on Shaq's team?
Just some regular dude. Against Shaq would be worse. Yeah.
But that's what I mean. Like, it's like, it's not fair. He has an unfair advantage because look at his size and, and it's like, well, that's just the way he is. You know what I mean? It's like, people don't think about it in those terms. Like it's sports too. It's not that serious, like,
especially like high school level fucking swim meets and shit. Like, who cares?
Yeah. What are we doing?
And I don't mean to say like, who cares? Cause obviously like if you're a trans athlete, it's something very important to you that you're allowed to take part. So like, I side on that side of the fence that like, if we really go who cares and just stand back and let them be outlawed from sports, you're siding with the oppressor and just kind of like operating from a place of privilege and it doesn't affect me, so what do I care? I don't mean it like that. I just mean like it can't be something that we fucking base our entire like who we're gonna choose for political leader around.
Right.
It shouldn't be anyways.
And it gets over, like it gets sensationalized and stuff like my kids are in sports. My kids play basketball. They're 8 and 10. Okay. So we're talking about 8 and 10-year-olds playing basketball in certain basketball games. And you have some of these parents who are yelling from the sidelines. They're doing all of these things. There was one game that the referee had to stop the game and called out a couple parents because they kept chirping the referees, who the referees are high school kids too.
Yeah.
Like they're just kids themselves. And you have grown adults chirping the refs. because they didn't make a call on their 7-year-old playing basketball.
It's nuts, man.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yes, I understand that, like, we want to play basketball and all this stuff, but it's not that deep. It's not that serious. You don't need to be doing that. And same thing with this other stuff. It's not that serious. Like, we just need to leave it alone. Talking about, kitty litter boxes in classrooms and stuff like that.
That never happened.
Never happened.
Yeah.
Never happened. We keep repeating this thing, and it's like,
I heard what that was really about was that apparently they had those for, like, in the event of lockdown or whatever,
Yeah.
so that there was some place that somebody could go to the bathroom. That was what that was about. But yeah, it wasn't because there were furries in schools like these guys wanted people to believe or whatever.
Now the other hard fact is what you mentioned earlier, and that I think Alberta is conservative, and there's a lot of conservatives out there.
Dude, our fucking government here, bro, they pushed through a law. One of the first things they did, they used the notwithstanding clause for the first time in Canada since 1986 to push through 3 different laws, one of which was to block hormone blockers for trans youth. One of them was to make it so that women, girls in sports would have to prove that they were born female. Like, they used a notwithstanding clause to push that shit through with no fucking debate in ledge grounds, no nothing. And yeah, fuck, I can't think off the top of my head what the third. Oh no, the third one was about using a different name in schools. They made that, so that they have to alert the parents if the kid wants to be named fucking Beth instead of Bill or whatever. Like, yeah, but it's just so fucking dumb.
Nobody calls Snoop Dogg Calvin.
Yeah, right. Shit.
You call him Snoop, and if Snoop said, "Call me Snoop, not Calvin," you would call him Snoop.
Yeah.
You would. You know what I mean?
100%.
But like, okay, but going back to your point there about the 6th grade literacy levels.
Yeah. So
this is another thing that has been studied and documented, and there's stats on it, and that a majority of university professors are all left-leaning. That all of the red states in down south are points below the national grade level when it comes to literacy and stuff like this. There's a correlation. Correlation doesn't always equal causation, but in this case, I think correlation equals causation, because you see these people get interviewed on the street. They're not using critical thinking. They're unaware of nuance and context and all this stuff. And Trump even said it himself. Smart people don't like him.
Yeah. But he loves dumb people, or what was it? Something like that. He loves the uneducated or something like that, he said.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to think about that. You really got to let that sink in too. And also the other thing is lower IQ people are more prone to violence.
Yeah.
So the people that are, like the guy they just got and killed with the shotgun down Mar-a-Lago. Apparently he was conservative. Apparently he, the people that went after Pelosi's husband, the people that tried to plot and kidnap the Michigan governor, and
even the guy who shot Trump's ear was a conservative guy. He was a MAGA guy, right? Like, yeah,
right. So when they say these things like left wing, right wing, same bird, it's either there's no comparison. Yeah. There's no comparison. And I usually compare it to this too. When you were younger and you were going out with a group of people to a bar, and let's just say you got 5-10 people you're all going out with. Out of those 5-10 people, there's always 1 or 2 rowdy people that are going out and they're ready to start something. Someone looks at them sideways, they're ready to go.
They're waiting for it.
You know that that you can get them amped up. That that when you say certain things around them, that you can either diffuse a situation or you can elevate it. Not to say certain things around these people. Not to put these people in certain situations because they're going to do stuff like this. This is the people we're talking about.
Yeah.
We're talking about the people that don't know how to deal with the feelings and emotions and stuff like this, and they resort to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They resort to fighting, they resort to shooting, they resort to whatever, because they're more prone to violence. When and again, I'm just using this as like a broad example, but like when Obama talks to his audience, he's not talking to people that his words will mobilize them to go and shoot somebody. When Trump talks to his audience, he's talking to people that are more likely to be mobilized to go and do stuff like
closer
that.
to that edge, for sure. Yeah.
And they can say the same thing. They can say the same thing, and it can be perceived two different ways by the people.
Yeah.
Because they're two different audiences.
100%.
That's just the reality. Yeah. That's just the reality of it. So I never ever like to minimize or reduce these conversations to, well, they're just all bad.
Yeah.
No, there's one side that's a lot worse.
Man, I appreciate you having this conversation with me. We've been having it for probably 45 minutes since I asked about this whole political thing in the States. But
I told you're going to give me.
It's good, man. I was hoping that we could get into some of this stuff. I appreciate you talking about it because, like I said, I think a lot of artists are too afraid to open that door and have these conversations. And, for whatever reason, I think it's good that there are artists out there who are pushing these narratives, because there's a lot of artists who aren't. So,
who said it? It was Joe Budden. I think it was Joe Budden that just said it recently. He's like, I'm disappointed that more artists aren't talking. He's like, this is hip hop, and this is what we talk about, and this is
right.
I absolutely agree. And like we said earlier, you don't have to make songs that are, word for word talking about political issues and stuff like this.
It doesn't got to be fight the power,
like, as long as someone can clearly see that you're a number on the right side.
Yeah.
Make mention of it. You use your platform every now and then to be like, that ain't right. Like, there's certain people that do that, and they don't make it their whole personality. They don't make it their whole, their art isn't derived from all this stuff. They still do what they do, but at the same time, in conversations, they're not coy about it. They're not ambiguous. They go, yo, do you support the current administration? Fuck no.
Right.
And then you hear that and you're like, oh, I'm glad I heard that, because up until this point, I was kind of on the fence of where this person stood.
That's why I ask every artist I talk to that question, where do you stand? Right. What do you think about what's going on in America? And, I can get a little bit of a judgment on the person's character off how they answer that one. And
then just quickly too, because we say that about America, but I think it's equally important to understand what's going on there, because what's going on there ends up bleeding into what's happening up here.
Yeah. And
you see a lot of the same tactics, you see a lot of the same rhetoric and talking points, and people regurgitating and recycling certain things that originate down south.
Or originate in fucking Russia, man. Though I found out the other day there was a hashtag Wexit movement. This was like back when Brexit was happening. There was also that the West should exit Canada, and it was hashtag Wexit. And apparently the origin of that hashtag was traced back to fucking Moscow. That the first uses of it were coming out of Russia. So like there's definitely a lot of foreign influences at play here. People have been tossing the word treason around for my premier, Danielle Smith. Like, she's down there shaking hands with MAGA every few months and trying to fucking, get a $500 billion loan so that they can go separate and shit. Like, it is disgusting.
And with Kevin O'Leary.
Yeah, Kevin O'Leary's nasty ass.
Have you seen the documentary The Great Hack?
I don't think I have, man. No.
It might be still on Netflix. I watched it a while ago, but I've seen it on Netflix, and it had to do with a company called Cambridge Analytica, and they were hired to help Trump get in 2016. And basically they handled a lot of, they collect data points on people, online people, social media. They basically, manipulate your algorithm and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah.
The more you click on things, they use a lot of those, what kind of animal are you? And then you answer the quiz, and every answer that you give, they're collecting data points on you.
Right.
And then they start feeding your algorithm certain things. So they ended up getting sued because this guy wanted They want to know what data they had on this guy. He found out about them. He's like, well, what have you collected on me? I want to see everything that you've collected on me for whatever.
Yeah.
The same company, there was, and I'm trying to think of which country it was happening in. I want to say like India or something like that. There was an election going on. And what they ended up doing is this person that they didn't want in was a shoe-in to get in. They were going to win. They didn't want this person to win. So they started a fake campaign where it was anti-government. And the intention of it was not to vote for the other person, but for those people not to vote for that person. So instead of voting for anybody, they voted for nobody,
right,
which took away votes from that person.
Convincing to the point both sides are the same, and it's all evil.
To the point that they were out in the streets protesting with signs saying that they were anti-government and all this stuff. Like, it started a whole movement, and it all came from this, because they were able to manipulate people's emotions and stuff. All this to say, I think in Canada we're a little bit behind the curve when it comes to things that happen in the States. We always end up seeing it later on, whether it's TV, movies, music, politics. It ends up floating its way up here years later. So when you hear the question all the time, why do you care so much about American politics? We live in Canada. You know we're connected, right?
Yeah.
You know what happens down there affects us up here, and we see it, and it proves itself all the time. When you have these conversations and they start regurgitating the same talking points or the same tactics, you're starting to see bills being introduced into Parliament and stuff like this. That's the same thing that's going on down in the States.
Yeah.
That's not a coincidence. They're seeing that and going, that's a playbook that I like, and I'm going to take a page out of it and start doing it up here. And then it's slowly sprinkled in to our politics. I was
just reading about Bill C-15, man. Carney is trying to pass a bill right now that on page 300 of this act, they snuck in that any government minister would have the ability to make corporations exempt from laws. Just, they could say, oh, you guys don't have to follow that environmental policy. As long as, I think the wording was like, as long as it's for the public good or something along those lines, which is just like so wildly vague that like you could put it to anything, right? But yeah, so there's definitely similar things happening up here. And yeah, man, it's a scary fucking world that we live in right now. I think things are sliding off the rails a little bit, but then, I also flip-flop back and forth from thinking like, okay, this guy's house of cards is coming down. Like, any fucking day now, it's all over for them, this week they've been talking about like, oh, the election results in Georgia are fucking coming out as being faked or whatever, that he stole the election. And like, I don't know. I hope that house of cards tumbles down and takes all of these fucking hanger-ons and all the strings connected to them along with it. Like, take Danielle Smith and Doug Ford out, please.
I'll say this too. Really though, really.
Yeah.
But I'll say this too, as a positive, because sometimes it's hard to see. It's hard to see because our face is too close to the wall. Sometimes we got to zoom out a little bit and go, I know all these bad things are happening. I see them happening and stuff like that. But a lot of these people, especially in Canada, a lot of these people are the loudest, but they're far from the majority. Yeah. They can get in their trucks 100%. And go honk their horns. They can go online and drop their comments and stuff like this. They are still the minority.
Yeah.
There was a guy who ran for what was it, the People's Party or something here in St. John. And this guy had the attention of a lot of people. You look at his online posts, he had a bunch of likes and comments, and he was saying all the same rhetoric. It was all this, and he just happened to be, a side note, he claimed to be a semen retention expert.
Oh God. Okay. So he's one of these.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
all right.
So anyways, that was just like the funny part of that. But so anyways, he would have these rallies and a bunch of people would show up and all this stuff. At the end of the day, he didn't even get a seat.
Yeah.
He didn't get the votes like that.
See, right now the separatists in Alberta are trying to fucking collect signatures, and they're finding out that, you know, all these bots online can't fucking come out and sign signatures. There's a whole lot of support for that shit online, but I've said it a few times. In 39 years of living here in Alberta, I've never had one person say to my face that they think that we should separate. I don't know who the fuck these guys are. I don't know where they came from. Maybe they're out there, the farmers in their fields. I don't know, but they're nobody I've ever met in any of the cities in Alberta I've lived in.
Some of them come from here.
Yeah.
Some of them are people that grew up here and go out there. So that's another thing too. You get a lot of these people from the East Coast that will go out west and make their west money and then get up on their high horse and go, you know, you're from New Brunswick, bro. You hopped on a plane and got a job out there. Yeah. Second of all, what you do, any moron can do.
Right. And soon the robots will be doing. Like,
I could hop on a plane and go do that. So don't act like you're out there, you know, handling nuclear fission and you're the only person that can do it out there. No, you signed up to do the job. You don't have any family, or maybe you moved your family out there and blah, blah, blah. And then you just talk shit about everybody else back home.
Yeah.
I'm cool. I don't want to move to Alberta. I'm not a person that's driven by money. I'm a person that is driven by, you know, being around his family and living in the community and stuff like this. I don't need a bunch of money. You do.
I shit on those rig guys all the time, man. Those guys are out there so they can fucking snort blow and, you know, fuck strippers and buy jet skis. Like, those aren't family people or people with like morality.
A jet ski and a side by side and 2 homes and blah blah blah, and then get the audacity to complain that Canada's in rough shape, bro. You're doing okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You got a home here. You got a home out there. You got a side by side. You got a four wheeler. You got this. You got that. You go on vacation 3 times a year. I see your pictures.
Yeah.
Like, what do you have to complain about?
They're complaining about carbon taxes. They sit in their fucking chrome package F-150, like jacked up on $20,000 rims. It's like, I think you can afford it, man. I think you'll be all right.
Yeah, I think you're doing okay. You know what I mean? It reminds me of like not so much relevant, but like you go into the liquor store and the liquor store sales always crack me up because they're never that good. They're like, oh, you get $1 off, and oh, whoa, you get $1 off that. I'm copping that. Yeah. But it's like, because you never see any kind of like good, kind of like the carbon tax. We're talking about cents. Yeah. When I drive around and I'm getting gas, I don't care if the person down the road is 3 cents cheaper.
Right.
It's 3 cents.
Every time I drive up to see my mom, she goes, oh, I've got this Safeway gas bar coupon that'll save you fucking 6 cents. And I'm like, Mom, for 20 liters of gas, like, I don't care about 6 cents a liter. It doesn't matter. Like,
it's not impacting me whatsoever. So all this stuff is just sensationalism. It's just people wanting to be involved in conversations. It's people wanting to be heard. They just want to be involved. It's like they found a community of people that are morons like them, and they built Moronville.
Yeah.
And they're like, I want to be the mayor of Moronville. I'm collecting all my likes online, and I got the most likes, so that means I'm king of Moron Mountain today. You know what I mean? I might be dethroned tomorrow, but
dude, this has been fun. I normally ask people a couple of questions. The how important section. Do you mind sticking around for another 10 or 15?
Yeah, man, go for it.
Okay, so just kind of rapid fire. Let's do. How important is music videos in the current culture?
Very important.
Okay. How important is having a good stage show?
Very, very important.
Yeah. Do you prefer, how important is having a hype man on stage for a stage show? As a guy who just went solo, that's an interesting question.
I guess that depends. Depends on how good your stage show is.
Yeah. For you personally, do you?
For me personally, no, it's not important.
Okay. How about how important is sound check? Showing up for sound check.
Very important.
Yeah.
I can't comment on the amount of times that the sound check should have been done and wasn't, and you're doing it on the fly, and you never do it on the fly.
Yeah.
You just don't do it on the fly.
Good way to ruin the first couple of songs. For
Yes,
sure.
yes.
How important is an MC's fashion?
Very important.
Okay. How about how important is keeping up with the news?
Right now, ultra important.
Yeah.
Ultra important.
How about making time to intake other media? Like, you know, whether that's books or movies or TV or whatever else, even other music, right?
Yeah, no, I think diversifying that stuff is super important to have to look at other perspectives and get fresh ideas and stuff like that. Yeah, I think that's needed now more than ever.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think with hip hop too, it's like so reference based, and you know, it's fun to hear artists kind of reference stuff that you can tell they're into. You know.
So just quickly on that too, that is also something that I look for in MCs specifically when they're able to reference things that make me think and go, I don't know who that is, but I'm gonna look them up.
Yeah.
When Nas would say something, or when Dead Prez would talk about this person, it's like I don't know who that is, but I'm gonna look them up, and then they end up putting me onto that person.
Yeah. I could name a lot more civil rights leaders because I've learned from them in hip hop, or learned about them in hip hop, and then went and read about them elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
How about how important is any particular substance to your artistic process?
Not important.
How important is getting grants?
Depends on if you're broke. If you're broke, then very important. If you're not, then maybe it's not so important.
For you personally, you're happy with that?
For me personally, it'd be important.
Okay, okay.
Not broke, but not I'm accepting grant money.
Sure, yeah. The more money, the better, for sure.
Yeah, that's right.
How about how important is winning industry awards? You put any faith in like the Junos or the East Coast Music Awards? That's a thing that always causes controversy out there in your neck of the woods.
This is another conversation that I think is good to kind of expand on just a little bit.
Yeah.
Because this is one where I kind of sit on the fence with. I have a couple people right now that I know that just got nominated for ECMAs, and then and they're very excited about it and all that.
Yeah.
Then you have someone like Stephen Hero and Uncle Fester who are actively boycotting something like that.
Right.
And the reason why they're boycotting, I support. But also the reason why my other two homies are stoked on it and going to the awards and all that, I also support too. Because things need to be, if you feel strongly about something and something that rubs you the wrong way, and you see something that is happening, in a landscape that you see that it can be improved on, you absolutely should speak up and say something.
Yeah.
And Stephen Hero and Uncle Fester's whole thing is, that hip hop is underrepresented, it's taken advantage of, it's not respected like it should be. And there was also I don't know exactly what her title was, but she was hired and fired pretty quickly. And I think her name was Blanche, and she was doing a lot of good things for that whole organization.
Okay. And
they ended up letting go of her for not great reasons. I can't really go into detail as to what they were specifically, but if you dig into it a little bit, I'm sure you would agree that it's like something funny going on there. And they finally had a person, I feel like, that would advocate for artists and representation and stuff like that. And then they made a bad decision in letting her go. But then you have, I was talking about earlier, my homeboy Fox.
Yeah.
He's nominated, and my other good friend, Deanna Leeds D. Hernandez. She's a singer, a Latin singer, and So they're both nominated. They're both going. They're both. She's black. She's Cuban. He's black. They're going, and it's good for them to be representatives of not only their genre but of who they are.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be seen. They need to be in the mix. They need to be. If you start pulling out all those artists and then it goes a certain way, then the representation isn't there,
Right.
and that doesn't do any good either. So it's good. And there was, this year there was, they were both nominated. There was an indigenous rapper that was nominated. Classified was nominated, but they're all in the same category or similar categories. And it's good to see the representation there. So I support them. And also too, the other good thing with the awards is that no matter what anybody says, having an award, having an East Coast Music Award, having a Juno puts you into different conversations.
100%. Yeah.
Having a Grammy puts you into you're now a Juno award winning artist.
Right. Yeah. You get to elevate your career. Yeah. Because of it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it can make or break people's well, not necessarily break, but it can make people's careers, I guess, for sure.
It can elevate it for sure, and it can put a spotlight on them that wasn't there previous to that. So you can see why I'm on the fence with it.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of these how important questions, like you've been able to answer quickly, and I appreciate we've been talking for 2 hours here now, but like they're just kind of conversation starters. There's no real right answer to any of these, really. But
right. Yeah.
I'll ask you one or two more of these. How important is pressing vinyl? Get answers on both sides for this one.
Yeah, for me, not super important, but for the culture, I think it's important.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's important to keep that alive. That's part of the turntablism and stuff like that. It's important to have access to that, and the more access that DJs have, the better it is for the DJs, the better it is for the artists, for collectors' pieces, for historical value. There's lots of positives in that. I'm not going to necessarily personally go out of my way to press a vinyl, but not to say that I wouldn't. That it would definitely be cool to do that. But,
Yeah, it's tough to bankroll them, right? I always tell people, like, support artists, buy the music you enjoy, but don't think it has to be vinyl that you're supporting through. Buying a $10 digital download still puts $10 in that artist's pocket if you're doing it through Bandcamp or whatever. So, yeah.
You don't have to have a craft beer. You can just have a regular beer too.
There you go. Right? Yeah. Okay. Last one of these I want to ask. I saw pictures on your IG that looked like wedding pictures. Can I ask you, how important is having or finding the right romantic partner?
Very important. I think the picture you seen though was my sister's wedding.
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah,
okay.
That's a whole different conversation if you're going. But no, but I think that for me personally, me and my woman have been together for 39. We met when we were 16,
Nice.
So a long time.
Yeah.
And we got 2 kids, and the conversations that we have, I take with me. It goes into music. It goes into my trajectory in life. How I look at certain things. I may look at something one way. She looks at it a different way, offers, input on something or balance ideas, things like that.
Yeah.
I think it's important to have somebody else to do that with.
Yeah,
for
bounce
sure.
ideas off of and get some feedback from and everything. Yeah, that makes sense, man. All right, dude, this has been a lot of fun. Before I let anybody out of here, I ask them to describe their local hip hop scene. Be as local as you want. If you want to talk St. John's, that's fine. If you want to talk, just the East Coast in general, that's cool too.
I think that the local hip hop scene for the St. John and surrounding area, and even New Brunswick, could use some work.
Yeah.
It could use some work. And I feel like some of the OGs around here can help with that.
Yeah.
And I feel like they should be helping. And I'm one of those people. So I'm trying to put a push on everyone that I know that makes music that isn't putting anything out right now.
Yeah.
I really want this year, because I know they're all sitting on music. I know they're all sitting on a hard drive full of music. I really want us all to collectively drop within the next year or two.
Yeah.
And just go boom. You know what I mean? And have all of us put out projects and be in conversations. And I feel like if we all do that at the same time, it brings more attention. It brings more ideas. It
Yep.
brings more opportunities if we're all in it together instead of being apart. So
rising tide raises all ships, right?
That's right.
Hell yeah. How about, can you name another Canadian artist who you haven't collabed with, you would like to collaborate with? This is the last thing I ask people.
That's a good question.
Because like you just said, one of the main reasons I do this show is to try to build that community, to try to build that interconnected support system for different artists. So, breathe it into reality. If there's anybody out there you want to work with, put it into the ether and see what happens.
Yeah, I almost said Tom McDonald, but I'm really kind of rethinking that.
Fuck that guy, man.
Oh, man. No, I will say, though, one person that I absolutely want to work with, and I feel like everyone should check out right now. If you don't know who this is me putting you on to him right now. And the dude's name is Aquaculture.
Yeah.
And he's from Nova Scotia.
I'm familiar. Yeah.
He just put out an album. It's incredible. His stage show is out of this world. I've seen him live for the first time, not even really knowing a lot of his music beforehand. He brought a band, he brought backup singers. There was certain times where I felt like I was getting choked up. There was other times I got chills. There was he projected and it vibrated right through you.
Now, does he rap too, or is he a singer?
Both. He does both.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a jack of all trades. On top of that, and this is big for me, he's a really nice guy. He is just a very genuine dude. When you talk to him, you can tell that he's listening to every word you're saying.
Yeah.
He asks you questions in return. He's a family man, wife and kids. He is also a social activist. He puts a big spotlight on his hometown, his culture, his heritage, his family. He's currently petitioning for I think it's great, something like that, great grandfather
back anyway.
to be exonerated, because he was the last Black person hung in the square in Halifax.
Shit.
And he's trying to get his name cleared, so he's petitioning for that. He also did a series with on Eastlink TV, I think, and it was going around in or CBC Gem. It was one of those. Did a whole series in Nova Scotia on Black roots and how everyone's connected there. And he would go to interview certain people, and they would talk about their family lineage and their attachment to the land and all that stuff.
Dope. That's
just really work, man. Yeah. Very important. And he's just, again, a super genuine dude. He's all about the people.
He works with a lot of different artists too. Like I see him, that's why I thought he might just be a singer, because I sometimes see him doing features where he is just singing, I think. Anyways.
Yeah.
But,
so great. I'm going to say this right now. Aquaculture, I got a joint for you. I'm sitting on it. I'm waiting, but it's coming your way. And I also, I want to put a spotlight too on my man, Stephen Hero. That dude consistently looks out for me, makes sure that I'm involved, that I'm around, that I'm inspired, that I'm active. And he really has done a lot for me in the last couple of years in making sure that I wasn't just home hanging out with the fam, but I was out doing other things too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like you said about all those other OGs around that you want to encourage them to make music, sometimes everybody needs that push. It's good to have people out in the community, encouraging one another and pushing
Yeah,
together.
man. My homeboy Joseph Coven, we got a video, but the last video on my page, Rhythm of the Night, is me and him. We go way back. He's a dope rapper. My brother Naps Mecca, he's out in Toronto. He is probably one of the illest lyricists I've ever heard in my life. And I say that like he is top 5 for me. He's someone that when he raps, it makes me just want to rewrite everything I've ever wrote.
Naps Mecca? Sorry.
Naps Mecca.
Naps Mecca and Joseph Coven, was it?
Coven, Koven.
Joseph Coven. Okay. Yeah, that's 3 artists you've put me up on, and I didn't really think that was possible at this point because I've been doing After the Smoke is Clear for 7 years, and I don't stumble across too many Canadians who I haven't really found already. I'm sure there's a few more out there, but I appreciate that, man.
Fact, you heard of Fact?
Fact. No, I'll take that name down too, man.
PHKT.
Okay, I was going to say that'll probably be tough to find. PHKT? No. Okay. Oh, maybe I have seen that name around. That's pronounced Fact, eh? Okay.
Fact. Monarch.
Mr. Monarch. Yeah, him I'm familiar with, yeah.
Okay. And I know there's others I'm thinking, but these for me are core people. They're the ones that I associate with the most, and we've rapped together over the years, over the last 2 decades. Like, they're the people I go to. But you will not be disappointed with those. And if you go back, and I'll send you the link too when we hang up here, but if you go back, I got another SoundCloud under my old rap name, Gnostic, and all of these guys are featured on these songs. So you'll hear them on those songs. You'll hear a whole catalog of music that goes back years.
Nice. Yeah, that'll be fun to get into, man. Last thing, I guess, where can people find you on social media most often? And I would encourage people to find you on social media because you're one of the few artists who actually voices opinions. A lot of artists just stick to, self-promo or whatever, but you actually
I would say
on Threads and say things sometimes.
Yeah, man, Threads, IG, Facebook. Those are probably the 3 main ones right there. But yeah, I do like to engage a lot. I do like to, post a good amount when I feel like it's necessary. I really don't like self-promotion, but I do like, rapping and music. And
just having a voice and some opinions, that's a form of self-promotion too. It's just not as direct, right? You're still getting your words and voice out there, Yeah,
and if you hear the music, you hear the songs, you're like, oh, yeah, so not only does he talk about it, he raps about it too. So
yeah, there you go, 100%, man. Yeah. All right, dude, this has been a lot of fun. I appreciate you doing this. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Appreciate you, dog.
Peace.
All right, peace.
All right, everybody, make sure you check out Mxchael Shabazz online. Like you said, catch him on Instagram, catch him on Threads. You can also find me on those platforms. If you enjoy these things, drop a like, drop a comment. If anybody made it through the entire 2 hours and 15 minutes of this thing, you're a real champ. I appreciate you. I'm just here documenting the scene 1 week at a time, and if these are long interviews, that's what it is. I have fun talking to people. I enjoyed that talk with Mxchael Shabazz. So, I'm happy to be here and facilitate longer conversations. I'm also happy if artists just want to come on and tell me about their album for 45 minutes and get out of here. So it is what it is, but back every Tuesday coming up until the end of June. I'm already scheduled. Next week, March 3rd, I'll be talking to Mackie Lavender, Montreal-based artist. March 10th, I talked to another guy who just relocated to Montreal, who I've talked to previously, but not since he moved out there. K-Stone is March 10th. March 17th, Sazy is back for, I think, the 4th time. March 24th, D.O.V and DJ Chino 420, 2 Toronto-based artists from a crew called Hella Trees will be joining me. March 31st, The Sixth Letter, renowned Toronto MC from the Bakers Club crew will be joining me. April 7th, I talked to Tariq. He's an Edmonton-based MC who's been on a few years back, but has continued making dope music and making moves in the industry. I'm looking forward to talking to him. April 14th, I'm talking to Calgary's Sarafin. Talked to him as well a few years back. Looking forward to reconnecting. He's been doing a lot in Calgary's scene lately. April 21st, I talked to Len Bowen out in Winnipeg. April 28th, I talked to Ezza in Niagara Falls. May 5th, I talked to Tone Chop and Frost Gamble. Tone Chop is, I think, an upstate New York-based artist, and Frost Gamble is a producer who works very closely with Tone Chop. Frost Gamble is based in Winnipeg. I talked to him a few years back, but looking forward to this one May 5th because both of them will be joining me to talk about their newest album. May 12th, we are going out to the West Coast to talk to Victoria-based artist O.P. Yeti. May 19th, it's Half Cut and Cole the God from Calgary. And May 26th, another Calgary group, Cold Camp, will be joining me, making the Dirty Sample Hide as the only other guest who's been on 4 times with Sazy. Well, maybe Mickey O'Brien's been on that many times too. I'm not sure. Mickey O'Brien might actually be the first artist that I've talked to 4 times. I'd have to go back and look. It's been a lot of these things. But I appreciate everybody for coming through and chatting. You know, catch these things Tuesday in Twitch. If you've got questions for the guests or for me, put them in chat. I'm happy to talk with people. And you can always catch me over on Twitch. This is my day job. Afternoons, I am, Tuesdays I do interviews. Wednesdays, Thursdays, I'm normally either working on my own music or working on After the Smoke is Clear, the mix show. You can find the archives for free listening of After the Smoke is Clear. Hour-long mixes of 100% Canadian hip-hop. Mxcloud.com/Doobyis. Get the Mxcloud app. It's free. You can support a lot of different artists. Know that I buy everything that I play. And, rest easy knowing that at least a little bit of money went to the artists while you stream the music for free. They get paid for the streams on Mixcloud as well. Apparently, that's why it's better than SoundCloud. On SoundCloud, a DJ can put up a mix and all the artists on that mix don't actually get paid, whereas on Mixcloud they do. Yeah, go over mxcloud.com/Doobyis, enjoy some free listening to Canadian hip-hop, and keep on coming back. Doobyis.com is the hub. I love y'all. Peace.